Hello, my name is Anya, and I am currently a National Health Corps AmeriCorps member at NSC, and I'm here with Sheila. She is also an AmeriCorps member, and today we're going to be leading this webinar on best practices in accompaniment. So basically, this is something that we will all do as a member of the health team here at NSC. It's a major part of our work with our clients. And so we wanted to go ahead and give you some of our tips and pointers for how to accompany clients to their medical appointments. So thank you for viewing this webinar, and we hope you will learn something useful.
All right, so just a brief outline of what we're going to be discussing in the webinar. We're going to start off with what you do before the appointment, what you should do while you're at the appointment, and then what you should do after the appointment, as well as if you run into any issues, how you should troubleshoot them.
So to start with, a basic definition of what we mean by accompaniment is basically showing our clients how to get to their medical appointments and helping them with registration once they are at the appointment. It's helping guide our clients and showing them how to do things for themselves, not necessarily doing it for them. It's definitely a learning process. And the ultimate goal is to help our clients become more self-sufficient and confident in their ability to go to the appointment on their own next time and know how to access these services in the future when we may not be able to go with them. So it's definitely focused on helping the client learn the things they need to do for later on their own.
All right, so before the appointment, the client is going to meet you at the NSC. They're not always going to tell Anna or whoever is out at the front desk that they're here. So if you see that their appointment time is happening and they have not arrived yet, or you haven't gotten a phone call, be sure to go outside, check the lobby and see if they're out there. And then once you have met them, be sure to introduce yourself. That's always something that both of us always forget. And then explain that you are taking them to the appointment, how you're going to get there, so whether you're going to be walking, taking the bus, or taking the subway. Make sure that they have tokens and everything, and then give them an approximate idea of how long it'll take to get there.
So before you leave NSC to travel with the client to their appointment, make sure you look in our health and wellness binder. Most, if not all, appointments should have an appointment sheet in the binder. This will have the client's name, the location of the appointment with the address and phone number for that office, the time of the appointment, and any special instructions. So for example, if the client needs to bring a script with them, any medication that they're on, things like that should be noted on the appointment sheet. So you can take this with you. And also you can check ACT, our database, if any information is missing or you just want to double check that it is accurate. For specialist appointments, most clients will need a script or a referral from their primary care doctor. That script should usually be stapled to the appointment sheet, and so you should make sure that you take both of these to the appointment with you. Before you leave, if you are going to a doctor's office or provider's office that you have not been to before, you can use Google Maps or some other sort of online map resource to figure out the best way to go, whether you can walk or if you need to take some form of public transportation. If you do need to take public transportation, always make sure before you leave that the client has enough tokens not only to get there, but also to get home or get back to NSC. That way you won't be stranded. I know that's happened to some of our interns in the past, and it's not a fun situation for you or the client and can be stressful. So make sure before you leave that they have either a pass or tokens to get where you need to go. And if you need tokens for the escort or for the accompaniment, then you can you can get some tokens from Health and Wellness, and you can use for the accompaniment will be located in someone's office. The location might change, so you can check with a member of the health team to find out exactly where the tokens are and the process for signing them out for yourself. While you are traveling to the appointment with the clients, it's really helpful if you can point out landmarks along the way. So for example, if you get off the bus or the train at a certain stop, helping them realize what stop you're getting off at. If you have to turn while you're walking, it's really helpful to show them landmarks that are easy to remember so that in the future they will be able to go back to that office on their own.
So once you get to the appointment, it's always important to sign in at the front desk. And usually there's like a clipboard or a binder of some sort for you to sign in at. And, point it out to the client when you get there, because oftentimes they just walk in and then they'll sit down. So next time that they go there, they're more prepared. And then usually you'll get a bunch of paperwork, and this is all mostly just demographic and insurance information. So it's basic like name, social security number, address, phone number. And then they'll also give you a medical form that just asks about the medical history of the client. So we try to avoid filling this out because obviously we, as the person who is accompanying them, we don't know their complete medical history, and with the language barriers, it's often hard to go over everything. So the doctor's office should provide interpretation, and the doctor or the nurse or whatever provider they meet with will be able to complete that form with them. And then once they are done with all the paperwork, you or the client should give it back to the front desk, and be sure to also give them the ID and their insurance card so then they can make a copy of it to put on file.
So interpretation. Interpreters should be scheduled for all appointments that our clients are going to. Sometimes you'll be working with an in-person interpreter, and the doctor's office will schedule that, and the interpreter will show up and meet you at the appointment. Sometimes, and actually I would say probably most of the time, interpretation will be provided over the telephone using a language line. And that provides a wider range of languages and is usually more cost-effective for the provider's office. So it's helpful to remind the provider or the medical assistants that you're working with at the front desk when you first are helping the patient register. It's helpful to remind them about the language that your client needs and remind them that interpretation was scheduled in one form or another for this appointment. You should never have to use NSC's language line for appointments. This is really important because language access is something that these medical offices are required by law to provide to our clients. And NSC should not have to pay for our clients to receive that necessary service. So the office should always be providing this interpretation. If they are not, you should always let someone at NSC know when you come back if you have any issues surrounding language access or interpretation.
Okay, so one of the biggest questions that interns always have is if they need to stay at the appointment or not. So our best recommendation is to just use your best judgment. There are some clients that are really independent and savvy, and they're able to, get home after their appointment or get back to the NSC. And then there's some that, it takes them a couple of times before they can figure everything out. So when you are deciding, there are some things that you should keep in mind before you make your decision. So one thing is oftentimes people are going to have follow-up appointments after their initial one. So you might have to help schedule that follow-up. They might also get prescriptions after their appointment. So if they don't know where the pharmacy is, then they will need someone to take them there. And then they might not know how to get back to the NSC after their appointment, or they might not know how to get home from the doctor's office, so they'll need to come back to NSC before they go home. So just keep these things in mind before you make your decision, and always talk to the client and make sure that they feel comfortable. If you decide to leave, that they feel comfortable with you leaving, and confirm with them that they know how to get home, what bus to take, if they have tokens to get back home.
And if you do decide to leave, you should still always stay until the client has been called back by the provider. So even after registering them, there are still times where something can go wrong before the provider can actually see them one-on-one. So it's always good to just wait and make sure they've been called back before you leave either way. So if you do decide to leave before the client's appointment is completely finished, definitely make sure the client knows how to get home, that they know where the nearest bus or subway stop is for them, and that they have the tokens or the bus pass that they need in order to get home so that they're not stranded in the office. If you do decide to leave, you can also tell them that if they have any questions about the appointment, if they have any paperwork such as referrals for other specialist offices, prescriptions, or any other sort of information that they might need help to understand, they can always bring it back to NSC, and someone on the health team will go over it with them and help them understand that paperwork. So make sure they know that even if you are leaving them, they can still come back to us with any questions at some point in the future.
All right, again, so after the appointment is over, you can check in with the client. If you decide to stay, you can check in with the client and see if they plan on going straight home after the appointment or if they need to come back to NSC. If they do have any paperwork from the provider that we need to schedule appointments for or anything like that, it's important to bring back copies of any of this. So allow the client to keep all of the originals and then make copies, and then the health team will work on scheduling those appointments or helping them get those prescriptions or whatever else they need.
Also, one of the biggest and most important things as far as our record keeping is concerned is that you bring back the appointment sheet with you after the appointment. The providers should never need this. It's really for our reference and for the client's reference. So please bring this back, and when the appointment is finished, in the upper right-hand corner of this paper, there's an outcome box. So it's important that you circle that the appointment was completed, or if there are any other special notes that you need to jot down, you can do it in this box. After you have brought the sheet back and filled out the outcome of the appointment, you can file it in our specialist appointment sheet filing box. And you can also clear the appointment in ACT, which if you watch Brittany's webinar, she will show you how to do that. So troubleshooting. Things will go wrong when you are accompanying clients to their appointments. It's just a fact. Nothing runs as smoothly as we would like it to. One of the biggest issues that we deal with when we're helping our clients get to an appointment is, what if you get lost? A lot of times we're accompanying clients to places we have not necessarily been ourselves. So the first thing to do if you think you are lost or know that you are lost is try using your phone's GPS if you have a smartphone. It can be really helpful in a situation like this to figure out exactly where you are and a route to get to where you're trying to go. If you think that maybe you have the wrong address and it doesn't seem quite right, you can call back to someone on the health team to verify the address of the place you are trying to reach. And it can also be a really good learning experience for clients. I think it helps them to see that it's not just new arrivals to the U.S. or people who aren't familiar with our country who are getting lost. It can happen to anyone, regardless of how long we've lived here or how savvy we think we are with directions. So try not to get too flustered or stressed out, and just try to use it as a learning experience for you and the client, and help them sort of see the steps you go through when you feel lost, and then hopefully, if they're in a similar situation someday, they'll be able to remember, how calmly you handled it, and hopefully we'll remember that in the future. And of course, if you really are lost and your phone's not helping, you can always do it the old-fashioned way and ask people on the street or nearby, and sometimes that may actually be more effective. But if you really are lost, you can definitely call back to NSC, and someone on the health team here will try to help you figure out where to go. Another common problem is having trouble during the registration process once you're actually at the doctor's office. There can be several issues. One of them, which is maybe the most common and happens a lot during primary care appointments, is having the incorrect PCP, which is primary care provider, on the insurance card. This is a relatively easy fix, although it does take a little bit of time. In that case, if the PCP is wrong, find out from the front desk who the correct provider is. Get the name of the correct provider and the phone number that is listed in the system. Then with the client, you can call their insurance company. The number is usually located on the back of their insurance card. And you can go through the process of helping the client change their PCP over the phone. Most times, the insurance company will want to speak directly with the client and make sure that they are approving this change. And so that's where things can get a little tricky. Sometimes if your client speaks a moderate amount of English, the process will be smooth and they'll say, yes, I give my permission. Other times the insurance company will need to get an interpreter on the line and go through that. But if this happens, don't panic. It's a very fixable problem. The next problem that happens a lot at specialist appointments or for radiology is not having the proper script or referral. So this is most clients' insurances will require them to have a script or referral to get specialty care. And if they don't have this with them at the appointment, it can be a big problem. So if you don't have it with you and the specialist office does not have it on file, like it was not faxed to them or anything like that, call the health team or their primary care physician's office and see if someone can fax it over for the appointment. Sometimes it's possible to have the referral or the script sent right away, and then the client will still be able to go through with their specialist, with their specialty appointment. Other times, it may just take too long, and in that case, you will have to reschedule, which is not ideal for anyone, and hopefully won't happen to you. Another common problem that happens at appointments is issues surrounding interpretation and language access. As I said earlier, the provider's office is required to provide language access to our clients since they accept money through Medicaid from the government. But not everyone is compliant with these requirements. So if there is no interpreter, and this is a provider that tries to schedule in-person interpretation, and the in-person interpreter did not show up for whatever reason, ask if they can use telephonic interpretation for the appointment. Some places don't prefer that because it's a little more impersonal and a little harder for the provider to use, but just see if they will accept that as an option. And if there's no in-person or telephonic interpretation available, there's really no other choice but to reschedule the appointment, which again is not ideal, but does sometimes happen.
And just one more note with all of this troubleshooting stuff, it's always important that you guys stay calm and positive and don't let the situation get to you, and don't get flustered, because obviously that's gonna, the clients are gonna be able to tell when you're flustered, and then they're gonna get really frustrated as well. And with that language, it's even harder to try and communicate what's going on. So if for some reason something happens and the appointment gets canceled, or something crazy happens during the appointment, you're always free to bring them back to the NSC, get an interpreter on the phone, and talk them through what happened, and brainstorm ways of how this doesn't happen in the future. But yeah, the biggest thing is just to stay calm and to use these experiences as a learning experience, not only for yourself, but to like teach the client so they can deal with it after, if this ever happens to them.
Yeah, and I feel like as you are an intern at NSC, you will have a lot of these situations where things are not going the way they were planned. But most of our clients are so patient and just like willing to go with the flow of things, and that makes it a lot easier to deal with these kinds of stressful situations. And even when we are working with clients who are a little more anxious and a little more stressed out by the situation, it's still important for us to stay calm because it definitely doesn't help to compound those negative emotions.
So accompanying clients to their appointments is actually really fun. I know it sounds kind of crazy, like walking around the city, taking people to their appointments, but when you're like in the NSC all day, there's not that many windows. It's kind of warm in here, so it's really nice to just like go out, walk around with clients, like get them to their appointments, interact with other people. Everyone that comes through our agency is like super friendly, and they all have like really crazy stories, and even with like the language barriers and everything, like you're able to like still make connections with them, and at the end of the appointment, they usually like they're going to remember your face, and next time they come to NSC, like they'll be super excited to see you. So it's really a fun experience, and it's really unique. So we encourage you to like take advantage of it and make the most of it.
Yeah, two of my favorite experiences with clients so far have happened when I was accompanying them to appointments. One time I was in a waiting room with one of our families for several hours, and we had come a little early to the appointment, but it was just a long time before they got seen. But in the waiting room, one of the clients was actually Skyping with her family who is still in Iraq, and they spoke Arabic, and so we could not communicate very well, but she kept making me come on Skype with her over video and like wave to her family and ask them, really basic questions. And it was a lot of fun to be able to interact with them in that way and see sort of the family that they are concerned about and care about very much. So that was a cool experience. And sometimes, even when things go wrong, clients can really surprise you with how generous and how patient they are. I was once accompanying a family to their a primary care appointment, and this clinic was a little hard to reach by bus. And so on the way home, it took us almost an hour to catch a bus back to where they live. But as we were waiting at several successive bus stops, these clients shared some home-cooked Syrian food with me. And it was just a really beautiful gesture in that they were not as stressed as I was by the situation, and they were just taking it in stride and being very open and generous with the snacks that they had brought with them. So it was also a really unique and meaningful bonding experience with them. And so that could happen to you on any of the accompaniments that you go on with our clients. You never know what can happen. It can be a really beautiful exchange, and you can get to know a lot more about our clients and where they come from and their stories if they feel comfortable sharing that with you. It won't always happen, but the times that it does are really a lot of fun.
All right, so this is just a very basic overview of accompaniment. Obviously, if you guys ever have any questions regarding this, you can talk to anyone on the health team, and feel free to refer to this webinar anytime you have any questions.
So thank you again for tuning in and participating in this webinar. And we hope you found it useful and somewhat engaging. So thank you again.